Good evening. Welcome to Loveworld USA News. I'm TGK Andre. First, let's take a quick look at the top stories this evening. The feds say Minnesota government fraud could exceed $9 billion as new charges are filed. The Kennedy Center to be renamed the Trump Kennedy Center following a board vote. Trump signs executive order to advance marijuana reclassification and expand medical research. 7 killed after private jet crashes near Statesville Airport in North Carolina. And the Trump administration moves to restrict transgender medical care for minors. And now to the news. Federal prosecutors have said that fraud tied to Minnesota government programs may exceed $9 billion, describing the scope of the misconduct as widespread and ongoing. At a news conference in Minneapolis, First Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson said investigators have identified fraud across at least 14 programs that have cost taxpayers roughly $18 billion since 2018, with a significant portion of that amount believed to be fraudulent. Authorities announced new charges against 6 additional defendants connected to alleged abuse of the state's Housing Stability Services Program and other federally funded initiatives. Prosecutors allege some defendants submitted millions of dollars in false Medicaid claims while providing little or no legitimate services, instead using the proceeds for personal travel, cryptocurrency purchases, and overseas real estate investments. Thompson said investigators have traced substantial amounts of money sent abroad, particularly to East Africa, including Kenya, where funds were allegedly used to purchase property. He also said some individuals traveled from outside Minnesota to exploit programs they believed were easy targets for fraud, describing many of the entities involved as shell companies created solely to submit false claims. The latest charges build on a series of federal cases dating back several years, including high-profile prosecutions tied to child nutrition and health services programs. Federal officials said the investigations are ongoing and warned that additional charges are likely as authorities continue to examine the full extent of losses and strengthen enforcement to prevent further abuse of public funds. Watch this.
Walking out of court after pleading guilty today of defrauding autism services, Asha Hassan represented just the beginning.
Are you planning to testify against any other defendants in the case?
The beginning of the next round of fraudsters convicted of bilking Minnesota's social service programs, the scope of which, $18 billion, is eye-popping.
Joe, could you give us a bare minimum of how much of that $18 billion you suspect will turn out to be fraud?
I think a significant portion.
First Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson eventually revealed that he thinks half of that $18 billion spent on those 14 different programs in Minnesota was illegitimate.
I don't make these generalizations in a hasty way, so when I say a significant amount, I'm talking on the order of half or more. But we'll see. When I look at the claims data and the providers, I see more red flags than I see legitimate providers, and overwhelmingly so.
Thompson showed how those 14 programs, now deemed by the state to be high risk for fraud, exploded in growth over the last few years. Just like the canary in the coal mine, the $300 million Feeding Our Future meal fraud case.
What we see in Minnesota is not a handful of bad actors committing crimes. It's a staggering industrial scale fraud.
Of the new suspects charged today in housing fraud, many familiar patterns. Hundreds of thousands of dollars sent overseas. But at least one new detail, even to Thompson.
What's essentially fraud tourism.
2 out-of-state residents who Thompson says came here to commit fraud because of Minnesota's reputation.
They came here because they knew and understood that Minnesota was a place where taxpayer money could be taken with little risk and few consequences.
The Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. is set to be renamed the Trump Kennedy Center, following a vote by its board, according to the White House. Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said the board approved the change in recognition of President Donald Trump's role in securing funding and overseeing recent renovations at the performing arts venue. Trump said he was surprised and honored by the decision while speaking from the Oval Office. This move follows Trump's decision early in his second term to remove the center's previous board members and appoint new allies, after which he was named chairman of the board. Several senior administration officials and political allies now sit on the board, including Attorney General Pam Bondi, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, and Second Lady Usha Vance. Trump has pointed to more than $250 million in congressional funding obtained for renovations and upgrades as evidence of the administration's involvement in stabilizing the center. The decision has drawn criticism and sparked debate, with at least one board member disputing claims that the vote was unanimous. Democratic Representative Joyce Beatty of Ohio said she was not permitted to voice opposition during the call. Legal scholars and some lawmakers have also noted that the center was formally named in a 1964 Act of Congress, raising questions about whether legislative approval is required for an official name change. Established as a living memorial to President John F. Kennedy after his assassination, the center has long been a prominent cultural landmark. Trump's expanded role in its operations has prompted backlash from some artists and performers, several of whom have canceled appearances. Local media have reported declines in ticket sales and subscriptions since the leadership changes, though the administration maintains the center is entering a new phase of renovation and programming under its current oversight. Let's take a look.
It's posted on X, your press secretary, that the board members of the Kennedy Center voted unanimously to rename it the Trump Kennedy Center. What is your reaction to that?
Well, I was honored by it. The board is a very distinguished board, most distinguished people in the country. And I was surprised by it, and I was honored by it. You know, we're saving the building. We saved the building. The building was in such bad shape, both physically, financially, and every other way, and now it's very solid, very strong. We have something going on television, I guess on the 23rd December. I think it's going to get very big ratings, and the Kennedy Center is really back strongly. It's in very bad shape, very, very bad shape physically. And we were also to get Congress to put up a lot of money and other people to put up a lot of money. We had a lot of donors come in for record-setting numbers, so we saved the Kennedy Center, and I was really, this was brought up by one of the very distinguished board members, and they voted on it, and there's a lot of board members, and they voted unanimously, so I was very honored by it. Thank you.
President Donald Trump has signed an executive order directing federal agencies to move forward with reclassifying marijuana as a less dangerous drug, a step that could shift cannabis from its current Schedule I status to Schedule III under federal law. The change would align marijuana with substances such as ketamine and certain anabolic steroids and could broaden opportunities for medical research. The reclassification, to be carried out by the Drug Enforcement Administration, would not legalize recreational marijuana nationwide, but could alter federal regulations governing the drug and ease tax burdens faced by the cannabis industry. Trump said he acted after hearing from patients and advocates who argued the move could help individuals suffering from serious medical conditions. The order follows a similar proposal initiated during the Biden administration that was still under review when Trump returned to office. While public support for marijuana reform has grown, polling shows a clear majority of Americans favor legalization. Some Republican lawmakers have opposed any change, warning that rescheduling could undermine public health and safety and benefit foreign competitors in the cannabis market. In addition to marijuana reclassification, the order calls for expanded research into cannabis and hemp-derived products, including CBD. Administration officials said the directive reflects a narrower focus on medical access and research, even as Trump continues to prioritize aggressive enforcement against other drugs, such as fentanyl, which is labeled a national security threat. Watch this.
It's an honor to do this. That's a good one. Today I'm pleased to announce that I will be signing an executive order to reschedule marijuana from a Schedule I to a Schedule III controlled substance with legitimate medical uses. We have people begging for me to do this, people that are in great pain. For decades, this action has been requested by American patients suffering from extreme pain, incurable diseases, aggressive cancers, seizure disorders, neurological problems, and more, including numerous veterans with service-related injuries and older Americans who live with chronic medical problems that severely degrade their quality of life. I want to emphasize that the order I am about to sign is not the legalization, or it doesn't legalize marijuana in any way, shape, or form, and in no way sanctions its use as a recreational drug. It has nothing to do with that.
7 people were killed on Thursday after a small private jet crashed shortly after takeoff at Statesville Regional Airport in North Carolina, according to officials briefed on the incident. The crash occurred around 10:15 a.m. local time. Iredell County Chief Deputy Bill Hamby said it involved a Cessna Citation 550 aircraft. Preliminary information indicates the victims included the pilot and 5 passengers. Reports suggest that at least one person on board was associated with NASCAR. The Federal Aviation Administration confirmed the aircraft went down near the airport and said the National Transportation Safety Board will lead the investigation. Witnesses reported seeing flames following the crash, and emergency crews remained on the scene for several hours. Airport manager John Ferguson said authorities do not yet have information on the cause of the incident. The airport, located about 45 miles north of Charlotte, is an uncontrolled facility that relies on pilots to self-report positions using a common radio frequency. Flight trafficking data shows the jet departed from runway 10, traveled approximately 5 miles, then turned back toward the airport without climbing above 2,000 feet. Weather conditions reported later in the morning included low clouds and light rain, though officials have not confirmed whether those conditions contributed to the crash. The investigation remains ongoing. Watch this.
Cell phone video capturing a large plume of smoke rising from the tarmac of the Statesville Regional Airport Thursday. The destruction all following a deadly plane crash that happened shortly after takeoff. The Iredell County Sheriff's Office said it was just after 10 in the morning the aircraft took off. Just minutes later, it crashed, and we've learned several people aboard have lost their lives.
Approximately 10:15 a.m., we got a report of a corporate jet that crashed off the end of the runway on the east end. When actually I came out, it was already fully involved.
YouTuber Garrett Mitchell taking to Facebook to confirm retired NASCAR driver Greg Biffle, his wife Christina, daughter Emma, and son Ryder were aboard the plane and plan to spend the afternoon with him. The post going on to say, "We are devastated." On the ground, firefighters worked to extinguish the flames of what we've learned was a Cessna C-550 carrying 7 people. The flight scheduled to arrive in Sarasota, Florida, but sadly that flight and the people aboard would never make it to their destination. As for what caused the plane to crash, that now the work of federal investigators.
We've had multiple agencies, as we said, come. The FAA arrived about 12 o'clock today. They're taking over the scene. They're taking over the investigation. We have no information on any cause.
The news will be back after this break. Don't go anywhere.
In a world that's always moving, staying connected to the right resources makes all the difference. Welcome to the Loveworld App Store, the digital home of everything that powers your journey in the Loveworld nation. Here, discovery is simple and meaningful. With our categories section, you can explore a wide range of apps designed to enrich your spirit.
I'm praying especially for you. You that have been sick. You need a miracle.
On the Loveworld App Store, you can access all your favorite apps, such as Healing School app, King's Chat, PCDL, Rhapsody app, Love Tunes, ESPYs, Loveworld Worship, Herald app, Alpha TV, King's View, C-Flix, Hello Loveworld, PCDL for kids, King's Conference, and so much more. Each application is created to serve a unique purpose and bring you closer to a life of impact. Explore My App feature, where your most valued tools are gathered in one convenient place. It's your personalized hub, ready whenever you are. The Loveworld App Store is more than a collection of apps. It's a vibrant ecosystem built to inspire faith, foster connection, and equip you for impact. Visit www.lwappstore.com to download the app on your device. Explore a world where purpose meets technology. Loveworld App Store. All your world in one place.
Welcome back. The Trump administration has announced new regulatory actions aimed at sharply limiting access to gender-affirming medical care for children, marking its most extensive federal effort to date to restrict such treatments. The Department of Health and Human Services said the proposals are intended to curb the use of puberty blockers, hormone therapies, and surgical procedures for minors who identify as transgender. Under the proposed rules, hospitals and providers that offer gender-affirming care to children would be barred from receiving federal Medicaid and Medicare funding. If implemented, the policy could significantly affect access in nearly 24 states where such treatments remain legal, and in some cases, publicly funded. More than half of U.S. states already have laws restricting or banning gender-affirming care for minors. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said the measures reflect concerns about the long-term medical effects of those treatments on children. The administration's position differs from that of several major U.S. medical associations, which currently support the availability of gender-affirming care under specific clinical guidelines. The proposals are not yet final and would require further regulatory review before taking effect. Administration officials acknowledge the rules are likely to face legal challenges, continuing a broader national debate over federal authority, parental rights, medical standards, and the role of government in regulating care for transgender youth. Let's take a look.
Yet doctors across the country now provide needless and irreversible sex-rejecting procedures that violate their sacred Hippocratic oath by endangering the very lives that they are sworn to safeguard. This morning, I signed a declaration: sex-rejecting procedures are neither safe nor effective treatment for children with gender dysphoria. These procedures fail to meet professionally recognized standards of care. Medical professionals or entities providing sex-rejecting procedures to children are out of compliance with these standards of health care. This declaration is a clear directive to providers to follow the science and the overwhelming body of evidence that these procedures hurt, not help, children.
We're taking major steps at CMS to stop a funding process that has led to irreversible medical interventions with two major actions. The first, we're announcing a notice of proposed rulemaking that ends taxpayer funding of sex-rejecting procedures for children in Medicaid and CHIP. Full stop. To reinforce the need to protect our children, we are announcing that certified Medicare and Medicaid hospitals, pretty much everyone in the hospital in the country, will no longer be permitted to perform certain sex-rejecting procedures on children. Any hospital that does offer sex-rejecting procedures to vulnerable populations of pediatric-age kids will no longer be able to participate in the Medicare and Medicaid program.
Federal energy regulators have approved a framework that will allow large technology companies to connect massive data centers directly to power plants, a move aimed at speeding access to electricity as demand surges across the U.S. power grid. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission issued the long-awaited order as the Trump administration presses for policies that support artificial intelligence development and expanded domestic manufacturing. The decision lays out a pathway for so-called direct connections, enabling data centers and other energy-intensive facilities to bypass parts of traditional transmission systems and secure power more quickly. Supporters say the approach could reduce delays that often slow large industrial projects, particularly as tech companies race to build infrastructure needed for AI computing. The order is expected to serve as a reference point for future requests, including one from Energy Secretary Chris Wright, who has urged regulators to ensure that major employers and technology firms can obtain reliable electricity without years-long approval processes. Administration officials have argued that faster power access is essential for economic competitiveness and national security. The move comes amid growing concern about potential electricity shortages later this decade, as the rapid expansion of data centers outpaces the development of new power generation. Regulators acknowledge the pressure on the grid, but emphasize that any direct connect arrangements must still meet reliability and safety standards to avoid shifting costs or risks onto other electricity customers. Trump Media and Technology Group has announced that it has reached an agreement to merge with fusion power company TAE Technologies in an all-stock transaction valued at more than $6 billion, marking a major strategic shift for the social media firm. The deal, which is expected to close in mid-2026, would result in shareholders of each company owning roughly half of the combined entity. Shares of Trump Media, which trades on NASDAQ under the ticker DJT, surged more than 30% following the announcement. The company operates Truth Social, the platform frequently used by President Donald Trump, and has struggled to grow revenue despite heightened public attention. The merger positions Trump Media to expand beyond digital media into advanced energy technology. Under the agreement, Trump Media will provide up to $200 million in cash to TAE at signing, with an additional $100 million available upon the filing of required regulatory documents. Trump Media Chairman Devin Nunes and TAE Chief Executive Officer Mikhail Binderbauer are set to serve as co-CEOs of the combined company. Executives said the transaction aligns with an effort to pursue long-term growth through transformative technology. TAE Technologies, which has raised more than $1.3 billion from investors, including major U.S. corporations, focuses on developing fusion energy, a technology not yet used in commercial power generation. The company said the merged entity aims to build a utility-scale fusion power plant in the future, pending regulatory approvals, as rising energy demand, particularly from artificial intelligence development, drives interest in new power sources. Let's take a look.
As you know, True Social was first started not because the president needed a new company, but because people were being banned by the internet. We built the technology to solve that problem and save free speech. Now we've been looking at what's the biggest issue at the highest level? What do we have to solve for? We have all these data centers coming in. We have AI coming in. And right at the center of that, what all of that needs to operate is energy. We need this country to be energy independent. We need to bring prices down. And if we want to bring industry back and be the capital and the hub for data centers, we're going to have to get nuclear fusion to work. Now, look, for 20 years, we bought solar panels and windmills from China. Those policies failed. What the Trump administration is trying to do is actually do real energy, whether it's oil, gas, all the above, but including nuclear. And what we've been out doing is we've scoured the world and the globe to find the best scientists, the top people, the best company. And we want to do nuclear fusion because nuclear fusion, although it was discovered some 75 years ago, nuclear fusion is really the holy grail. The science is there, and the good thing about the company that we're merging with is these have the very best people we have in America. 1,600 patents, 400 scientists, a bunch of award-winning scientists. And they are ready to build. They've been working on this project for 25 years with private funding. The Chuck Schwab family was one of the original investors. Other investors like Google and others have put money into this company. They were looking to go public. And what we did is we said, look, we're a technology, you're a technology company. Let's build the synergies together and let's go out and build the world's first nuclear fusion project. And
The news continues after this break. Stay with us.
It's easy to set up, quick to start, and packed with value. Smarter streaming starts here with the Alpha TV Stick. Just plug and stream anytime, anywhere. Discover a curated lineup of content designed to inspire, live broadcasts and global events, inspirational films and series, children's programming, healing and teaching sessions, all on demand. With millions of downloads worldwide, the Alpha TV app is transforming lives across the globe. And now, we're on a mission to reach 1 billion downloads of the Alpha TV app, and you can be part of it. Join the global wave with 1 billion Alpha TV app downloads worldwide. Bring the higher life into every home. Order your Alpha TV Stick today and experience smarter streaming. Alpha, the higher life is here.
Welcome back. China has condemned the United States over its approval of an $11.1 billion arms package for Taiwan, warning that the move increases the risk of military confrontation in the region. Beijing said the sale could turn the island into a destabilizing flashpoint and undermine peace across the Taiwan Strait. The package includes advanced weapon systems such as the HIMARS launchers, long-range ATACMS missiles, self-propelled howitzers, unmanned aerial vehicles, and anti-armor equipment. U.S. officials said the sale is intended to strengthen Taiwan's defensive capabilities amid rising military pressure from China. China's foreign ministry accused Washington of encouraging separatism and claimed Taiwan's leadership is seeking independence through force. Chinese officials warned that U.S. military support would not change Beijing's position and could prompt further escalation, including increased military activity near the island. Under long-standing U.S. policy, Washington provides Taiwan with defensive weapons while maintaining its One China framework. The sale will now undergo a 30-day congressional review period, after which contracts and production would move forward unless blocked by lawmakers. Watch this.
A major $10 billion arms sale to Taiwan, prompting an angry response from China. Here's what to know. The 8 arms sales agreements cover medium-range missiles, howitzers and drones. The sale includes 82 high-mobility artillery rocket systems and 420 Army tactical missile systems, similar to what the US had been providing to Ukraine during the Biden administration. The sale was announced by the State Department during Donald Trump's nationally televised address, where Trump made scant mention of policy issues and did not speak about China or Taiwan at all. Taiwan has expressed gratitude towards the US for the arms sale, saying it would help maintain sufficient self-defense capabilities. China's foreign ministry attacked the move, saying it violated diplomatic agreements between the US and China.
以武拒统，大肆挥霍老百姓血汗钱购买武器，不惜把台湾变成火药桶，挽救不了台独必然灭亡的命运，只会加速把台海推向兵凶战危的境地。美方以武助独，只会引火烧身；以台制华，绝对不会得逞。
US-Chinese tensions have ebbed and flowed during Trump's second term, largely over trade and tariffs, but also over China's increasing aggressiveness towards Taiwan, which Beijing has said must reunify with the mainland.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia is sending signals that it is preparing to make 2026 a year of war, urging the United States and other allies to respond with stronger security, financial, and political measures. Zelensky said in his address to the Ukrainian people that as Russian President Vladimir Putin has sent these signals to Ukraine, the message coming from Moscow contradicts claims that Russia is serious about ending the conflict through diplomacy. Zelensky argued that when Russia projects a wartime mindset, it may use negotiations to pursue pressure tactics aimed at legitimizing territorial gains and undermining Ukraine's sovereignty. He warned that similar claims about historical lands could later be applied to other countries in Europe if Moscow is not deterred. Russian President Vladimir Putin said Russia intends to achieve its objectives either through diplomatic means or, if talks fail, through military force. Putin also referenced plans to continue creating and expanding a security buffer zone, according to remarks cited in a Kremlin transcript. The White House said the administration has made significant progress in efforts to end the war, while Zelensky called for concrete action, including security measures, financial steps involving Russian assets, and sustained political resolve from partners to counter what he described as Russia's continued threat posture. Now, just before we end the news, let's take a quick look at tomorrow's weather forecast. And to end the news today, a quick recap of the headlines. The feds say Minnesota government fraud could exceed $9 billion as new charges are filed. The Kennedy Center to be renamed the Trump Kennedy Center following board vote. President Trump signs an executive order to advance marijuana reclassification and expand medical research. 7 killed after a private jet crashes near Statesville Airport in North Carolina. And the Trump administration moves to restrict transgender medical care for minors. And that's the news for today. Join us at the same time tomorrow for more news. I'm TGK Andre. Good night, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.